we're going to do this idea of the body dividing into two here. So, so it's often described as, one part of you pushes and one part of you pulls. Now, these are words, as I think I said last week. It depends how you define your language here. So I'm going to describe it in a particular way. So we're going to let the knees bend, but when you do it, so here's the planet below us. Okay, we've got the whole Earth below our feet, and we're going to feel as though our body is being pulled down into the planet. So your knees are going to bend and you're just going to sit down a little bit. You're being pulled down. Okay, so if you imagine that someone is holding onto your hips and not letting you move when you bend your knees, what would happen is that the joints here and the knees and the ankles, because you're fixed here and yet your body's sitting down, the joints have to open in order to allow the knees to bend forwards. They have to undo. Otherwise, it's not a literally, your aim is not to bring your pelvis downwards, although it will come down. It's inevitable. How can it not if the knees bend? But the feeling is as if your pelvis is pinned into this position, but as you're pulled down, as if the planet's dragging you downwards, your knee joints must therefore be forced to open. They will be forced to open. So it's just a perception of the way you look at this more than anything else. So here we go. We're just going to do the lower part. So you're being pulled down, and your knee joints are being forced to open, and your ankle joints and your hip joints. And then you release. So you're being pulled down, almost as if your hips are reluctant to come with you. And then you release. Doesn't have to be very low, it can be a tiny bit. So you're pulled down. Okay. So if you like, the earth is pulling you downwards, getting you to go down. Gravity is pulling you down, if you wish. However, the hip is reluctant to move. Now, from the hip going upwards, we have the spine, and then we've got the shoulders and the elbows and the wrists. So we're particularly interested in the spine to begin with because that's the bit that everything else hangs off. So you're pulled down to the earth, but you're pushed up on the spine. You are pushed up, not pulled up. Because if you're pulled up, it feels like someone's grabbing your neck and trying to lift you up, and therefore you're going to make your neck go tense. If you're pushed up, it's different. So you're not going to get that neck tension. So because the push is coming from here down below and pushing you up from there. It's all semantics, I know, but it's the way you look at these things that makes the big difference. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're not going to bend the knees for a minute. Just leave them static. Okay, so neutral position. Now then, push yourself up from the bottom, and it's like you're pushing the spine up from the bottom. Okay, and then you just go back to neutral again. And then again, you push the spine up. Okay, now then, what I want you to particularly notice is what happens to the small of your back, if you can feel anything. Okay, does anything change there at all? So hips are not moving, which makes it much harder, incidentally, but it's deliberate. So we want to not move anything downwards here at all. So as you push the spine up, what happens? And then you just release. And then you push up again. Push the spine up. Get inside your own body. Feel what's going on. Okay? Now, possibly what you feel is this bit of your back starts to operate. It starts to do a pelvic tilt. Your spine, instead of being like this, it starts to straighten out. That's what we're after. And it's a tiny, tiny feeling. However, when we now introduce the bending of the knees being pulled down, because the pelvis alters position, you're going to feel this on your back more obviously. So now what we do is you're pulled down, but at the same time you push up. and then you release. And then you're pulled down and you're also pushed up. Just keep doing it. Keep going. We need to feel as if this point here, everything is splitting from that point. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. So that's where we got to in the last session. So this now we didn't do. Here, the shoulders need to start operating, and it feels as though the joints are very gently opening out. Okay. So we're going to focus on the shoulders. Yes, the elbows and the wrists, they're going to come in a minute, but focus on your shoulders. So we've got being pulled down into the earth, and we've got being pushed up from the middle. And at the same time, the shoulders, yeah, I'm only going to bring my hands to there for the moment, and then I'm down. So first of all, the pull down and the push up, and then my shoulders come into operation. And a feeling of the head of the humerus on either side just separating slightly from the socket. Yeah. And now what happens is, okay, so let's just do it stage by stage. So we've got the bottom part going down, being pulled down, and we've got the top part being pulled up. Okay, so initially you're going to focus on your spine, that feeling of being pulled up, but not for that long. So let me just give you a demo what I mean. So we're here. You don't need to copy, just watch a second. So I go pull down and pushed up. Okay, I've already done that bit up. I've reached my neck already. So once I get past here on this point level with my shoulders, the spine is connected correctly. So now I can start to feel about what's happening with the shoulders. So it doesn't take long to do that bit. I mean, it can be pretty instant. So have a try together. Okay, so we're neutral. Okay, so I pull down, push up. Okay, I can ergo my arms. I can now use my shoulders. Yeah, and then I stand up again. And we do another twice more. Pull down, push up. When do you finish pushing up? Because that's when you start to need to lift your arms. So now what we're doing is the lifting of the arms is being connected to the feeling in your spine. Pull down, push up. Oh, it's off. We're off. Okay, so that's stage one. Here's stage two, if you like, and here's stage three. So all we now do is connect. So having got the arms going up, as I lift them, and I don't wait till I get to the top up here, as I lift them, I start to feel like this joint is opening, this joint's opening, and then finally I get to the wrists, okay? And then, incidentally, I get to the fingers, but let's not worry about them for a second. So, here we go. Get your feet ready, you're in neutral position, and you go, pull down, push up. Okay, off go my shoulders. Okay, now I'm moving on to my elbows. And now I'm onto my wrists, all those 8 little bones. And I'm going to stick the fingers in because it's dead easy. So I just feel like the bones are opening in the fingers. All those joints have opened. And then I come out of it. So just the act of getting into this posture is quite complex. But once you've got it all balanced out, you'll find you can hold it much more easily. So off we go. Pull down, push up. Oh, I've done. I'm up shoulders. I'm up elbows. Up go the wrists and the fingertips and thumbs. I check where my weight is. Is it in the middle or on the ball or on the heel? Where is it? I want it in the middle. And you're down again. Couple more times. So pull down, push up. Oh, that's the shoulders coming. Okay, so that's the wrists, elbows. And that's the wrists and the fingers. And I check where my weight is on the feet. And the final thing I'm going to check is, have I tensed my neck at all whilst doing this? Because if you have come out of it, if you have, you haven't really released the spine. Because if your neck is, if you can release the neck more, having got there, and you probably will be able to first, then you find that you haven't actually allowed the rise of the spine. Or you have, but you caught it at the last bit and you've used your neck to lift your arms up. We don't want to use the neck to lift the arms up. It's a perfect way of getting a good headache. So I'm pulled down, the spine's pushing up. I've connected everything. I'm checking my neck all the way up. I'm making sure that my spine stays really, really nice and relaxed and open. Fingers, thumbs. I double check my neck. I check where the weight is on my feet. And then you're in the position. And you lower. That's it. Good. That's all. So that's getting into position 2. Because position 1 is the Wu Ji position, where you are standing literally, arms side by side on either side, and your body is absolutely plumb line, straight. You know, your crown, perineum between your 2 feet, dead straight line. This is your neutral position, your Wu Ji position, and then you start to make things happen. So they say, I know I've talked about this before, but I'm going to repeat it because I'm going to add a bit to it. So the Wu Ji position is, if you've got your yin yang symbol, okay, it's got a circle around it, and then you've got the 2 fish in the middle, yeah, and there's the other one. There's the head and there's the tail, yeah. So head, whatever it is, you know, head here maybe, tail here, and there's the head, and here's the tail, and there's the head of the other one coming around. So this outside is the Wu Ji circle, if you like. It's thought of as the before the 2 polarities were created. So if we're being biblical about this, it's before Adam and Eve. It's the world before the opposites were created, before the apple was taken a bite of, or whatever it is. You know, it's if we're going to tie it in with sort of Christianity and stuff. So this circle is before the polarities, the duality was created, before plus minus, before yes no. You know, it was all that. Everything is absolutely nothing, but nothing can work with anything else because there is nothing in the middle. So then we start doing this and we start moving. Now the polarities are being formed. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. The duality is being formed. So if I only do 1/2 of the duality, let's say I do the plus, okay, for the sake of argument, we could call it the minus, it makes no difference. So if I lift my arms up, suddenly I've got more weight at the front. Therefore, unless I create the other side, I'm going to fall forwards. So I have to make both sides work. So when I do my lifting up here, at the moment, all the weight's going forwards because my arms each weigh about 18 pounds extra. I mean, this is a very simplified way of looking at this, incidentally. So the arms weigh about 18 pounds extra. So therefore, I'm inevitably got more weight in front, so I'm going to fall. So what do? I have to get a balance, and which is what yin and yang is all about. You have to get the balance in the body to keep your equilibrium in the middle, so that the sides open. Now, obviously, the arms go distance-wise, if we're talking measurement, you know, they've gone 2 foot ahead of me, or whatever it is. And I can't do the same with my back, but I can use my back in a slightly different way to get the same balancing effect. So you're here, okay? I mean, to be honest, you naturally do this, but I just want to make you conscious of what you're doing so that you actually, when you're conscious of it, you start to use it, and you'll find that when bits of you get very tired, you aren't using it. That's when you're not using it. It's back to the whole is greater than sum of the parts idea. So if you only use one bit of your body and you don't counterbalance it with another, things get tiring. Okay, so here we are. You've got your arms by your sides. So this is pulling down, this is pushing up, and then off you go. So you're pulling down here and you're pushing up, Okay, now my arms can go. Now I'm very conscious as I do this of keeping my weight in the middle because I want my balance and sometimes my polarities, my dualities, whatever. And sometimes you deliberately go onto the toes or you deliberately go onto the heels because you want to achieve a certain result. But if we're looking for the ideal yin yang sign, then you are now in the middle, but you have created two opposites.